which was the software that we were using before for the quiz. So they are internal quizzes, so it's very different from last year, from what you had before, from previous years. So you will have 3 quizzes, including 10 questions each. And so everything is in the subject guide with the dates for the quiz. It's 10%. You have an in-class test, which will be in week 5. If you look at the subject guide, it's indicated. So your in-class test will be during week 6, where you have to submit problem set 5. Okay? So it will be during the workshop, and basically you will have 1 or 2 questions around what we did up to week 5. So game theory, essentially it will be game theory. And a final exam, which is 50% of your assessment. So you have 4 pieces of assessment, so you need to get ready for that. No, there's nothing difficult, so normally you should all pass the subject if you are engaged. During week 2 and 3, we'll analyze game theory, which is strategic interactions between different stakeholders. It's not in the textbook, so it's important that you come to the lecture. It's a little bit technical. I mean, it's easy, it's a little bit technical, it's a little bit difficult at the beginning, but by practicing, you will see you will develop these game theory skills. And you will solve games very easily. So it's really important that you come during week 2 and 3, because really the face-to-face component is important, because you will see how I will write a game, how I solve it, and I need to show you, I compare that with that with that. So you need to follow me. You know, there is all this face-to-face interaction which will be important. The textbook is Principle of Economics, which is adapted for Australia. Take the last edition. Come here. Yeah, come here. We move the room. I don't mind which edition you take. If you buy the textbook or if you don't buy the textbook, it's really up to you. You have an electronic version on the website of the library, so you can still use the electronic version, which is the last one online. But it's what we will use, it's what I'm referring to. And I would say this is the one that we are using because it's adapted for the Australian context, but any textbook in economics is working for that, you know. It's really the basic principle of economics. So on LMS, you need to navigate on LMS. You have everything, okay? You have all the material on the LMS. You have the subject guide. So this is the first step to do, is that you read your subject guide, okay? If you have any questions, so for all subjects, you read the subject guide. You have all, I mean, this one is tell you how many pages. It's 13 pages, okay? So you have all the information. So normally, if you read the subject guide, you have all the information that you need. And so you can still refer to that during the year, okay? So let's go on LMS. So you know how you go on LMS. Hopefully it will work. I didn't look before. So it's a little bit different because I'm a member of staff. Okay, so you connect. Okay. So yeah, don't take Internet Explorer as I did, because it's sometimes we have problems with Internet Explorer. So, no. So let's take, where are you? Okay, sorry, just have, so, sorry, where are you? Here. Okay, that's what you have. Okay, I'm going on student view. So that's what you have. Okay, so you have the LMS. So the lecture is recorded on the ecosystem, hopefully. We moved our room, so I'm not sure if it's recorded. Yeah, it's recording, it's written. So you will see in the ecosystem that if you click here, so no, there's nothing because it's recording, but each week the lecture is recorded. Okay, so come to the lecture. I mean, I'm much more understandable. You can much better understand me when you are in class than when you listen to me on the ecosystem. So come to the classroom. You have so the subject guide, which is here. So you have all the information in the subject guide. Okay, it's a little bit slow. You have the reading list here. So if you want to, so here you have the subject guide. Look, you have all the organization. So you have my email here. If you need to contact me, go through that email. I have my consultation time, which is at 9 o'clock on Thursday, so just before the lecture. You have everything, how it is assessed, okay? And if you have a problem, you have the policy procedures, so especially if you do not come to the exam, okay? If you can't come to the exam, or if there is any problem when you come to the exam, directly go in the subject guide and follow the procedure indicated in the subject guide. Have nothing to do with that part, okay? Special consideration and so on. Okay, I'm going down. The page which is important is this one, okay? If you print one page, print this one. You have all the activities in one table. So you have the lectures, so there are the weeks 1 to week 12. We have 12 weeks of teaching. All lectures, which will cover, so today our introduction, game theory, week 2 and 3. Okay. After we go on the microeconomic parts, so market, the supply and the demand, the cost of production, market structures, market perfect competition and monopolistic situations, which are like when an industry is concentrating, okay? After we go on the macroeconomic part, which is measuring the income, so the GDP, okay, and inflation, and measuring growth. Unemployment, and after there's the last lecture on global challenges. So there's one part on the global, I didn't decide yet what we'll do there, but probably the global financial crisis and the impact of automation on work. So you have the problem sets to submit, so there is one lag, between the problem sets that you submit in class and what we are doing in class. So basically, for next week, when you come to the workshop, you will have to submit the problem sets related to the lecture of this week. Okay, it makes sense. You will receive feedback on your problem sets during week 4. Okay, and you have, so week 6, you have the in-class test. Okay, so it's red, in red. Your quiz will, so your first quiz will be open for a long period of time because you have the mid-semester break in between. Normally it's 11 days, so here it's 11 days plus the break, okay? So basically you have the deadline to submit your quiz, okay? And you have also the exam. So you have everything which is indicated, so the room of the workshops that may change by next week. So this is one element. The other element is that you have, so there's a quiz, that's where you will have the quiz, you can have access to the textbooks by clicking the resources there. Right, giving you to Cengage. Yeah, so this is for shopping. So it's if you want to buy the electronic version, but in the reading list, blocked. You have the reading list somewhere on the side here. So you have your calendar there too, okay. And so after you go, you scroll down, okay. And so you have videos that you can listen. You have the material for week 1. So you have the slides, you have resources for each week that you can explore. So, I mean, do it. It's plenty of resources. Okay? So you have everything on LMS. So for week 2, you already have the resources for week 2 and the slides, and I will add each week the problem set that you have to prepare. Okay? All right? So for next week, you have the problem set 1 to prepare and to submit next week. Okay. Read it, read the subject guide, go on LMS, explore, and you need to prepare your problem sets. So each week you will have to submit, so here you have, I indicated, oh, I didn't show you. There's a section on LMS where I put my announcement, it's here. Weekly updates. So I send you emails. So when you receive an email, so you have the welcome normally. So first, as a student of Latrobe, you need to check your Latrobe emails, okay? Everything on LMS is connected to your student email address. So if you have Yahoo or Gmail or whatever, Outlook or whatever it is, you will not receive emails. So check your emails from Latrobe, okay? All emails that I send are going through that. Okay, and that's where I put my announcement. So if you receive the email but you lost it, deleted it, and so on, it's on LMS. In this section on announcements, you can also add comments, obviously which are useful for everybody. Okay, not comments like, oh, it's raining today and I'm not happy. Okay, but like you have a specific questions that everybody would benefit from that comment. So you can add comments there. To avoid to receive the announcement posted by everybody, you can do that, okay? And so you receive just everything in one email at the end of the day. All right? You're right? Okay. So what we want you is that you have this economic framework, these economic tools to think. I mean, I think economics, it's about decision making. It's about how we take our decision. It's about our choice, you know, how we make our choice. I mean, for me, economics is a little bit like technology today. The way we design it, it's just like coordination mechanisms, how it is organized and how people make their choice, given their constraints, given incentives, and so on. Okay, so it's what we are doing in economics. We explain decision making related to economic decisions. I do believe that it's going beyond economic decisions. Typically, you have you know, the theory of marriage, for example, the Beckerian view of marriage, which looks weird when you listen to it, but it's working so well. I can tell you it's working so well, like associative matching, like people. Yeah, so anyway, but it has really a predictive power, which is really strong. And it's about the rationality of people and how people take their decision. And so really what we want you to do is to understand that framework. It gives you some lens to see the world, which are not so intuitive, you know, which are not the ones that you will have if you are not analyzing economics. And so, I mean, obviously, I expect you to memorize what we do, okay? Don't want you to forget everything once you leave the room, but it's really about having this critical thinking, you know, developing this critical thinking, using that tools that we have in economics. And the more I'm teaching economics, the more I'm convinced that it's working well. You know, it took me like 20 years to come to say that, so I was not thinking like that when I was a student, especially microeconomic part, the micro part, which is the one that you don't like usually, because it's just like, it's a little bit tricky first, but it's also giving you another way to think about how we make decisions, okay? In the organization, group discussion will be part. So what you are expected to do is that each week you need to submit a hard copy of your problem set in class. So I'm collecting during the workshop your problem set. So you organize with whoever you want. So it's up to 4 persons per group. It can change from one week to another week. The only constraint is that you need to submit your problem set with someone from the same workshop. Okay, so it's someone who is in the same workshop as you. And so you work in group, you discuss, okay? In class, during the workshop, you will also have group discussions. I will favor group discussion because it's important that that's the best way to learn. I mean, the best way to learn something is to explain it to someone. You know, because in a way, when you explain it to someone, you manage to put words on a mechanism or something that you thought about, and you translate it into language, you know. And so discussing with other students is really a good way to learn. Discussing with me is a very good way, but as I have a limited time, it's also very important that you discuss and you know, probably because you are the same generation and you are not economists, you will say, you will better understand each other, you know, than you know, I will provide another insight, you know. So peer discussion, student discussion is really important. And so that's why you will have to discuss each week. I put a few videos. So I tell you, if you took the subject before, most of the videos has changed from last year, just in case. I think that you already watched everything. So a lot of these videos are coming from a work of my colleague Jan Libic, who interviews policymakers. And so each week in the problem set, you will have to make a summary of this video. Okay? So, I mean, it depends. Some weeks it's just 15 minutes of video, some weeks it's 1 hour. But, I mean, it's a way you also develop your knowledge in economics. Yeah, don't worry. You work in group. So during the workshop, I will sometimes reallocate the group. I want something which is balanced. I told you I'm working on inclusion. I do believe that differences and diversity are very insightful, and this is the best way to learn. And to learn about others is to have different people who are thinking differently from you. So I try to mix people from different backgrounds. Okay, so I don't want all friends who submitted their problem set together to work again together in class. I want you to work with other people in the classroom. I think that's really the best way to learn, even if it's a little bit more difficult. Okay, it's also where you will learn the most. So for the in-class test and the exam, what we expect you have the marking criteria in your subject guide, but basically I want to see that you understood what we did and you are able to answer to some questions. So, I mean, you need not to know everything in the textbook, no stress, relax, okay? If you came, if you prepared your homework, it should be very easy. Okay. So I already started with that before. So we start lecture 1. Okay. What is economics for you? So speak loudly, please. I'm not sharing the microphone for this year. Just keeping for me. So what is economics about? It's about money. Okay, it's about money. Economic activity. Yeah. So that's interesting because you are right. Because actually, we use a metric which is in dollars. Basically, that we typically when you have a good, whatever is a good, our metric will be dollars. So the way we compare potatoes with tomatoes with a computer is that we use dollars as the same metric. But it's not just about money. It's just a kind of metric that dollars, money, that we use, but it's not just about that, yeah?
Economics is about managing the economy, like the world economy. How is it managed? How there is an inflow and outflow of money? How is it all functioning?
Yeah, so it's how the economy is managed. I just put that for people who are listening the ecosystem. So I would go beyond that. So there is a policy making. So this is the policy making. It's the role of the state with our manager, or perhaps it's big firms, and I'm not sure who is deciding in the economy. But it's not so much about who is managing. The economy is really a coordination mechanism okay, with the price and the quantity, we will coordinate the supply and the demand. Okay, so typically, I mean, I would expect to have a rise in the price of toilet paper. No? You know, there's no toilet paper, and so it's really what we want to know as an economist. There is a shock, okay, like the coronavirus. Okay, so it changed how people behave. The demand is increasing. Demand is decreasing. People are running to supermarkets. They are buying. And so if everybody does that, that's a coordination mechanism. Some people will not have toilet paper because there's not sufficient production. So it's really, you know, your economic decision is impacting other people around you. And we explain this coordination. And the coordination mechanism, and that's where I'm going back to what you said, it's about price, okay? The evolution of the price, it's the way people will take their decision. Most of the time when you decide to buy something, you do it based on the price, okay? Other elements, what is the economics about? And the policy making is important because very often we have what we call market failure. The economy is not working as it should do in a model, which is basically most of the time. And so when there's a market failure, it means that we need a kind of regulation. And we tend to think that regulation should come from the state, okay? Could come from someone else, but up to now, it's essentially from the state. So as I told you, economics, it's really about decision-making and the coordination of the decision of agents, okay? So we want you to think about, as an economist, and so in economics, so we'll not use so much, I mean, we use model, I explain model. I will not present you in a mathematical way. Okay, so mathematics are good because there's no mistake in mathematics. It can be all wrong. What you model could be all wrong, okay? But the model itself will be right. You know, this is mathematical. So, you know, mathematics, you see how things are flowing in the model. You know, how the channels of transmission from, I don't know, like monetary policy to price to decision of people and so on and so on. So we use models. So you have this quotation that all models are wrong, but some are useful. So, I mean, a model depends on your assumptions, first. You may have different assumptions depending on different context. But by definition, your assumptions will be contextual to what you observe, what you want to observe, and so on. And you make a model, and this model has a predictive power, okay? Which is right or wrong. I mean, nobody has a crystal ball. And the only way to look at the future is to have a model, a way to think about the world. Okay, that's why models are useful, because we want to predict the future, and nobody can predict the future. I mean, even economists can't predict the future, okay, because there's a lot of uncertainty. But if you want to predict the future, do it based on the model. So you can explain why your predictions are coming, where they're coming from. And if your assumptions may change, like let's say, but finally people do not behave like that, how does it change my model? Okay, that's why this model have some predictive power, because even if the model is wrong, it could have a good predictive model power. And I mean, Friedman, who is an economist, said it's not important that the model is right. What is important is that it is as if it was right, that it has a good predictive power. It's not a problem that it's not working like that, but if my model is good enough, it will be as if it was right. You know, it will have a good predictive power. Yeah, so that's basically what we do in economics. Yeah, so we can have very different lens on the way we tackle the same problem. Because basically nobody knows, I mean, nobody has a truth. I mean, that's the reality. Nobody can tell, oh, but I understood everything about how people are behaving, all decision making. That's wrong. But at least you have a model. So one key element is that resources are scarce, even toilet paper. Resources are scarce. And we have infinite needs. We will always want more than less, except if you some things that you don't want, but generally, when the good is desirable, you always want more than less. And in the context of scarcity of resources, you have some limitation, and this limitation is due to the scarcity of resources. And I think it's more and more true. I don't know if you were there 2 months ago. You were during the bushfire crisis. And it was, I mean, you can't breathe air. It was a lot of smoke. Always, when I was a student in economics, we always considered that good air was a good, that is infinite. But that's wrong. When you were in Melbourne, at this period of time, you realize that no, first it's not a good, okay, it's not as good as the other one because it's a free good, you know, but it's scarce. And so, I mean, there's a scarcity in everything. If you think about petrol, oil, okay, you need to go offshore to have more petrol, okay, so it's I mean, on the land, on a specific place, it's a scarce resource, okay. And so scarce means that there is a constraint. We have a constraint, right? So we have 10 lessons of economics. I think we just make 8 now. It's not representative. I don't know why they chose this one. I would not choose as an economist this one. I don't think they are the most important, but some of them are quite interesting. So it's about how people make decisions. First element. Economics is about how people make their choice. It's really about the choice. I mean, choice is in your life is everything. You choose. You are the one who is choosing. But you choose in a context, okay? So we need to explain how you are choosing. And your choice may create some constraints or interactions with other people. This is a coordination. So it's really about decision-making and coordination. Okay? And that's why I think if you think about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on, it's really the same stories that we have in the IT sector now. It's about who is taking the decision and how we are coordinating, you know, through a technology. So that's what we do in microeconomics. So that's where I'm doing all my work is microeconomics, the micro levels, the level of individuals, workers, consumers, states, employers, and so on. But you also have how it impacts the economy, the big picture of the economy, how it impacts growth, how it impacts employment. This is a macroeconomic policy. Okay? This is the second part of our lecture. It will be on the macro picture of the economy. So it's when we aggregate everything. How do we aggregate everything? Does it make sense to have an aggregation? And what we find at the macro level. So lessons that we take. This one I agree with that. Everything is about choice. So choice is a trade-off. You have the pros, you have the cons. I don't know if you already did that, like you take an Excel file, you put the pros, you put the weight, the score. I did that like when I choose an employment, if you have to choose between different employer. And like you put like psychological things and try to have some metric to make your choice. Sometimes it's just very natural, but basically it's always about arbitrage. You arbitrate, okay? And it's any decision, when you take a decision, you give up something, okay? And that's the idea of that. I mean, typically, when you come, so it's not 8 o'clock, so that's still all right, but if you have to come to 8 o'clock in the morning, the trade-off is that, oh, I need to go out of my bed or go to this excellent POE lecture. This is a trade-off, okay? On the labor market, this is a trade-off between leisure and work, okay? When I'm working, I don't have any leisure, okay? And when I take leisure, I'm not earning anything, okay? So I can't consume in the same way. When you have a budget constraint, you arbitrate between, if I buy that, I can't buy that because you have a budget constraint and so on. So you have different arbitrage, and at the macro level, it could be arbitrage between efficiency, productivity, and equity, or things like that. And so we come to this, there is no such a thing as a free lunch. There is no free lunch. Free lunch do not exist. Because when you have a free lunch, you decide to go to a free lunch, you always give up something else. I mean, your time, the true constraint is basically your time, okay? When you do something, you can't do something else at the same time, still, okay? And so, nothing is free, okay? When you access for free Facebook, you give them your private information that they will sell to someone else, okay? So it's not free, okay? You give them you pay. Something that you can't put a value on yet. But there's nothing such as a free lunch. You always give up something. So, I mean, as a decision, when you take your decision, basically you think about the cost or the price or the value of what you are giving up, okay? And it's important because it means that, if you give up 1 hour that you give up to something, it does not have the same value depending on what you give up. If during that hour you have something very important to you to do and you can't do that, this hour could be very, very valuable for you. Okay, so I try to explain that to my boss when he gives my workload. But 1 hour is not the same here and here. It's not the same value for me, but still. So the cost of something is what you give up to get it. This is the opportunity cost. So basically, when you take a decision, you compare the cost and the benefits of different alternatives. So we just make it simple, okay? We just consider the 2 best alternatives because you compare to all the possible states, but in reality, you know what are your favorite options, and you compare two best alternatives, the cost and the benefits. And so basically what you do is that you measure what we call the opportunity cost. So typically, investing in human capital, going for tertiary education, going to university, it's an investment in what we call the human capital. Human capital is basically your knowledge, your education. You have an arbitrage that, I'm going to uni, it costs me that. And during that period of time, I can't go on the labor market and start my career, okay? And I'm doing that because I'm expecting a return on my investment, okay? And I'm valuing more the careers that I can do, by going at uni and having this return over time. There is an intertemporal dimension in your decision. It's not just like at the moment of time, it's also takes the future into consideration. And that's what we call the opportunity cost. So typically, the opportunity cost of going to university could be, but I gave up a career. I'm not earning an income during that period of time. And you need to take that into account when you take your decision. And it's probably why a lot of people who are going to uni are young people, because actually there's not so much a big career already settled first, or people who are not satisfied with their current career and they want to do something else, And basically what they give up has not so much value when they decide to come. So this is the opportunity cost, and you will have questions on the opportunity cost for the workshop next week. At the exam, you always have questions. This is a key element. Really, think as an economist, start to think about what we give up. It's not about what we pay to do something, it's also about what we give up when we do something. The cost that we pay psychologically when we give up an alternative, an option, the second best option. So, example. So, money, okay. So we put So we have preferences, okay? And to measure our preferences, we express our preferences in monetary terms, okay? So we put dollars on that. And obviously, from one person to another person, the preferences may be different. Your propensity to pay may be different for the same good. It depends on your taste, okay? What you like, what you dislike. And there is the price of the market. So there is a psychological price, what you are ready to pay. And there's the price of the market, which is the one that you will pay. And based on your psychological price and the price of the market, you will take your decision to see if it worth to buy something or not. So here, let's say, consider the ranking of the following preferences. So we consider, so I give you that, okay, so you need to stick with that. So you can study, which has a monetary value of 40, work, which has a monetary value of 30, which is what you earn when you go to work, but you need to take the bus to go to work, and so you will pay $3 per hour. And the third alternative is movie, going to watch a movie, which is $20. So you will study. And what is the opportunity cost? What is the price, the value of what you are giving up? This is work. And what is the monetary value? So we put that in monetary value, okay? We tend to put dollars, or, may be different. So here it's easy, work is easy because you can measure it in monetary terms, okay? You know what is the salary, the wage per hour is $30 minus 3, okay? Which is what you pay to go to work. So actually what you earn when you go to work is 27. All right? So your opportunity cost is 27. Okay? The thing is that your opportunity cost may be impacted by different things, okay? So if tomorrow the cost of transport is increasing, your opportunity cost will fall. So anything that reduces the attractiveness of your second best option will reduce your psychological price of giving up. Does it make sense? So if tomorrow the transport is not $3 but $5, your opportunity cost will be 25, okay? So what you give up has less value. So really think about the opportunity cost is the value of my second best option. If it becomes less attractive because of X or Y reason, okay, the opportunity cost is falling. Okay? So you'll have to measure some opportunity cost. And so the difficulty, to be honest, I think is most of people do not think in terms of opportunity cost. And it's also because we have a difficulty to put a monetary value and to take into account this heterogeneity of taste, okay? Lesson 2. Yeah, so it's what I said. So you have plenty of examples. Go on the slides, have a look. So here you have a cartoon, and you have an old man with his daughter, and they are doing gardening, and said, yeah, I prefer the old-fashioned way, and okay, and she doesn't look very happy with that. And basically, the opportunity cost may be different from one person to another person. Typically, the old man has nothing else to do, while the woman would have something else to do. And so what she's giving up to make the gardening is not the same as the man. Okay? Does it make sense? So, very important element is that we think, so it's really, so opportunity cost, that's basically what makes economics different from accounting, for example, is that we took into account the psychological price, okay, to explain the decision making. Second element is that we think at the margin. We think for the last unit. when you take a decision, you will think about at the last unit. You know, you take a coffee, you think, do I need a coffee? Yeah, that's the first one. Do I need another coffee? Yeah, the second one. Do I need a third one? And you don't think that's my third one. You think, do I need one more unit? Okay? You think at the margin. You think for the last unit. So basically, you look at the cost and benefits for the last unit. And the last unit, this is the margin. This is the marginal effect. The marginal effect, this is the effect of the last unit. So the marginal cost, this is the cost paid to have the last unit. The marginal benefit, this is the benefit drawn from the consumption of the last unit. Okay? The marginal product, this is the last unit produced. Okay? So what you have with the last unit produced. So people make decisions at the margin. Do I need to buy another car? Do I need to take another coffee? You know, when you wait, you say, oh, okay. Do I wait one more minute or I'm going? You don't think, you think I already waited that. Do I wait one more minute? Okay, it's really the last unit that you consider. And so it's really important because all the results, so this one, I will repeat it, all the results that we will have is that we compare the marginal benefit with the marginal cost. So we compare the benefits at the margin for the last unit with the cost for the last unit. So we compare marginal benefits and marginal cost. If my marginal benefits are higher than my marginal cost, I'm going. Okay, I'm consuming, I'm producing, and whatever. You know? But it's always that. Compare the benefits and costs, but at the margin for the last unit. Okay? And we'll have this result everywhere. You will have this result everywhere. After, the way you calculate the marginal benefits and the marginal cost may change from one model to another, but it's always marginal benefits, marginal cost. If benefits are higher than costs, I'm taking the decision. If the costs are higher than the benefits, I'm not going. Okay? This is the way you make your arbitrage. We answer to incentives. People answer to incentives. We react to incentives. Motivation is important. What motivates people? If you have a bonus on teamwork, you will be more a team player, okay? If you have a bonus, which is just based on your own performance, you don't care about other people. And bonus may be an incentive mechanism. If I give you some marks, if I don't give you any marks for your problem set, I'm quite sure that you will not submit your problem set. Or few of you will do it, but most of you will not submit their problem set because there's no incentive. You are not marked. If I give you some marks to submit your problem sets, the marks will work as an incentive mechanism. Yes, you want this mark, so you will submit your problem sets, okay? So people respond to incentives, and that's why it's important, because if you give the right incentives, you can have the right behavior. Okay, so we need to put in place the right incentive mechanisms. Do you have examples of incentives? We'll not dive in depth in that, but you need to have that in mind. Examples of incentives, good or bad incentives, by the way. Yeah, any incentives.
Like, if you work and you sell X number of things, you get a percentage of it?
Yeah, so typically if you have an index of your wage on your sales, it's an incentive mechanism that the more you will sell, the more you will earn. So it's a good incentive mechanism. to motivate people and say, okay, we'll push them to sell as much as they can, to produce the best effort. Basically, I mean, the employer-employee relationship, it's a really good example, because the question of the employer is that how do we keep workers productive, where, I mean, so by nature, people will provide the lower level of effort. I don't know if you agree with that, except if you are in a passion, very motivated by what you are doing, and so on. But you know, most of the time, people. I mean, if you go to work in a McDonald's, okay, motivation is not at the top every morning, and so you need an incentive mechanism. Okay, so how do you give the right incentive mechanism? So this is the carrot and the stick. You know, it's basically that. Yeah.
But is it differs from profession to profession?
Oh yeah, of course, of course. I mean, this is a microeconomic question. So it really depends on. So
I reckon, like for a person who's into sales,
Yeah.
some kind of targets or something.
yeah, you can have some targets. As I told you, if you want to have something which is more working in team, you will put incentives on working in team. If it's so, it depends what you want to work on.
But if a person is just like an admin job, doesn't have a target like day-to-day basis, in that case, how would you differentiate?
So you need to know, to measure how you measure the productivity, what you want to favor. Just let's go outside of the workplace. And so let's go back on pollution. Now I think so. Really, I do believe, so there's nothing to do with what we are doing. I do believe that we have three big challenges. You will have three big challenges. We all have, actually. Environmental challenges, that's really clear. I mean, if you were there 2 weeks ago, I mean, signals are very clear. I mean, it was burning, the house is burning and we are not doing nothing, you know. Our planet is burning. One. Second element is about, I said, diversity and inclusion. I'm perhaps biased, but I think we reach a level of inequalities in the world, between countries, within countries, where few people hold most of the wealth. And it has to change. Only a minority of people are represented in that. Okay? So this is the second challenge. That's what I'm working on. And the third challenge is about technologies. We are going on the moon, okay? Oh, not on March. We are going on other planets, but we still don't know what is on Earth, okay? I don't know what's the rationale to go there, okay? What's the rationale to go there? And what's the rationale not to plant trees on our Earth? But there's a big digital transformation which is really changing the way people are behaving, you know, the way you are consuming online, putting information online, being always on your mobile phone. It's really changing the behavior. So we had all of that. So let's think about incentive for the environment. Do you think we have the right incentives? No, tomorrow, just say people. I mean, if you are polluting, you pay for that. I mean, there is a cost. There's a cost of pollution, but this cost, nobody's paying for that. Somebody will pay for that, and it's basically other generation. Nobody's paying currently for that, but somebody will pay. There is always somebody who is paying for that. You know? Not now, but tomorrow, people will pay. And so it's a lack of incentive. If you do not put the right incentive structures in terms of polluter-payer, very simple, it's not working. Okay, so bad incentive, you have the results. Okay, people are not caring. So you have incentive in many, you know, outside of the workplace. So if I want people to care about something, I need to put, so typically, if I want to have, there's something on the baby bonus in one of the questions, people have to have like a higher birth rate, I will give them money. If you have a baby, you will have like an allocation and people will have more babies. You know, this is an incentive mechanism. Kids, if you have kids, incentives work very well, you know. give them some chocolate or stickers or whatever they want, it's working quite well. So incentives are working. So the question is how you nudge people in some, how you give them the right incentive.